Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, welcome. I joined with other members of this committee last year on a letter to you after it was reported by the Inspector General for Tax Administration that more than 1,100 IRS employees with federal tax compliance issues had been awarded over $1 million in cash awards and more than $10,000 in hours of time off awards. In your response last May, you stated that the IRS was working toward trying to address this problem across the entire IRS, but you made no commitments, nor did you set any deadlines for making certain this doesn't happen again in the future. And I know that you've talked a little bit about this already this morning, but I just wanted, for the record, to get you to speak clearly on this issue, because it seems to me it's awfully hard to go to the hardworking American taxpayers and ask them to comply with the tax laws when you have employees in your own organization that don't comply. And more than that, who are getting bonuses, hours off, additional benefits, payments, cash bonuses when they've got tax compliance issues. So can you commit to me that you are going to fix this problem and ensure that that's not going to happen again in the future?
We have already adopted policies to address the problem. Anyone who willfully is not compliant with their taxes is not only eligible for awards, subject to disciplinary action. That number of employees there that are viewed as, quote, not compliant includes employees who are engaged in installment agreements, who are becoming compliant, but we still count those as non-compliant. We say you will have to be, if you're going to be counted as compliant, you have to actually be current today with your taxes. Even if you're current with an installment agreement, that doesn't count. But that's not a willful violation. There have been proposals and suggestions. If you willfully do not file your taxes, and the IRS, not only are you not eligible today for a bonus, and we have a program that we are making sure that that applies as we look at performance awards, but as I say, under Section 1203 of the Code, it's grounds, if you willfully are in violation of not being compliant, it's grounds for dismissal. And we take disciplinary action against employees. Over 99% of the employees are compliant, and they understand. Anybody who signs on to the IRS understands part of their obligation, because we are the tax administrators for the country, part of their obligations individually is to be compliant. But I would remind everybody, we have a lot of GS4s, GS5s who are not tax attorneys, tax accountants, or CPAs, and they're capable of making the same mistakes, not willfully, but inadvertently, that everybody else does. We count those people as not compliant, but they're not the people that, in fact, are willfully trying to cut corners or not pay their taxes. So our policy is in place, and it includes issues about other disciplinary actions. We firmly and totally agree that for you to be eligible for a performance award, you should be performing. And that includes compliant with your taxes, not willfully avoiding them, and you should not have any major disciplinary action going on at the same time, and that's a new policy.
Okay, well, I would just say, whether it's willful or not, voluntary or involuntary, just with absolute clarity, without any ambiguity, make it clear, because, as you know, the agency has a huge trust issue, a huge credibility issue with the American people. It needs to be crystal clear that people within the agency, the IRS employees, are not in any way going to be rewarded, either through cash bonuses or time off, if they've got tax compliance issues. It's just got to be that crystal clear. I mean, otherwise, I don't know how the American people can expect anything less when it comes to that issue. In your testimony, you cited the recent decline in IRS funding as a cause for poor customer service and insufficient tax enforcement. But there's also in the budget a request, in your 2016 budget, a request for $490 million and over 2,500 employees, FTEs, to implement, administer Obamacare. Now, I think it's needless to say, none of these employees would be necessary had Congress not chosen to enact all the mandates and taxes in the law. But isn't it time to admit that the increased burden on the IRS is from Obamacare, not simply lower funding? I mean, we got funding issues, I understand. That's what you're here to talk about. But strikes me, at least, that the resource issue is a result of a shift away from customer service and other core IRS functions and toward Obamacare.
As I've stated from the start of my tenure, it's exactly clear that our responsibilities have grown. It's not only the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, it's the implementation of the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. It is about to be the implementation of the ABLE Act. and the related professional employee organization responsibilities, where we're being asked to start new programs. All of those are resource intensive. So it is not, if we did not have any of the statutory mandates we have to implement, we would have more resources available for both enforcement and taxpayer services, obviously. But I have stated from the start, and I agree with you, that every time there's a new program that's given to the IRS, it doesn't get done out of whole cloth. It is a mandate that we will pay attention to, but it takes resources away from either enforcement, services, or information technology advancement.
Senator Heller.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.